What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unhinged Talk. I'm your host, Patrick Hennessy, joined by a very special guest tonight, Derek Levandowski of MYY Recaps. How you doing tonight, Derek?
Not too bad, man. How's it going?
Can't complain, it finally feels good to have Yankees baseball back. Life finally feels like it's getting back to normal.
It's not back yet.
Slowly but surely. But, a lot of people have a negative outlook heading into the season, primarily because we don't know if the season's actually going to be played in its entirety. Definitely one of the major negatives heading into the season. This brings us right to Jasson Dominguez. You recently wrote a guest post on Unhinged New York about how kind of the biggest downfall of this 2020 season is not being able to see Jasson Dominguez completely destroy the minor leagues.
Right.
For those of you who don't know who Jasson Dominguez is, he's the next Yankee star. He's had comparisons to Mike Trout. His nickname is the Martian because he's unreal. The talent of this kid is ridiculous. If you look at him, how old is he? 17, 18?
17.
Yeah, he's massive. He looks
He's a unit.
He looks like he's built like a Greek statue. It's unreal. And going beyond that, just beyond his physical appearance, the talent. He's a switch hitting, awesome outfielder with comparisons to Mike Trout. I mean, if he can live up to that hype for the Yankees, I've even heard that he could be the 2023 starting center fielder.
I've heard sooner than that. He could be, honestly, in the lineup at 19 years old. From everything I've seen from this kid, just from a baseball standpoint, his swing is positively beautiful. There's somebody posted a video a while back where they recorded him taking batting practice on a silent, quiet field. The sounds, it was like the 4th of July. It was like firecrackers when this guy makes contact. And they say that guys like Bo Jackson had that sound, or Josh Gibson, or Babe Ruth, guys who just square up the ball perfectly and are also ridiculously strong. What makes Jasson Dominguez unique is how advanced he is for his age. So he's further along at 17 than guys like Mike Trout or guys like Ken Griffey Jr. And one of the points I made in the article is that if you go based on just the scouting grades, like the 5 scouting grade tools, he's already ranked as an above average major league player at 17.
Which is crazy.
So what's he going to be when he's 27 in 10 years in his prime? Now, I guess guys are having their prime a little earlier, but I could see him at Glaber's age. Can you imagine what he's going to do at 23? When he's healthy and young and, just hitting his prime, playing for his first big contract maybe. So I'm so excited to see this. But on the other hand, I've seen these comparisons before. Ruben Rivera, Mariano Rivera's cousin, in 96 was supposed to be the next thing. He comes up, he plays well, ends up stealing Jeter's glove a few years later. He got traded for Hideki Irabu, who didn't work out in his own right. And then also, guys like Jesus Montero, the catcher from a few years back. He was supposed to be the next big thing, but he got moved and he started eating the ice cream sandwiches and throwing them at scouts. So that was the end of Jesus Montero. So it's all about, making sure that he develops properly. I really hope that they're going to invest some time and personnel, personal drivers, personal chaperones. He's got to have some freedom, but make sure this kid, stays away from the bad elements, that can get you when you're a young, rich athlete, the same ones that got Dwight Gooden or Darryl Strawberry in New York. Just dedicate some personnel and making sure that this kid adjusts well. Put Aaron Judge's locker right next to him so that he can, mold him into the type of professional he needs to be. But the sky is the limit. And like I said, I'm really disappointed we can't watch him this year. It's always fun watching somebody just destroy the competition in any sport. A lot of people didn't like it when Tiger won the Masters by 18 strokes or whatever back in the day. But I love seeing a peak athlete dominate. I like seeing Tom Brady win 4 or 5. Well, maybe not Tom Brady, but I like seeing athletes at their peak, and I think it's it would have been a sight to see, but hopefully we'll get to see it next year.
Yeah, looking at Dominguez and the potential that he has, it's important to remember, like you mentioned, nothing's guaranteed in baseball. It's one of those few sports where there's a guy with tremendous talent, and once he finally gets to the league, you don't know what's going to happen. I want to say that baseball is probably the sport where there are the most prospect busts. Because in basketball, if you draft a number 1 guy, odds are that he's going to be your guy for the future.
Right.
But
baseball relies less on talent. baseball is the hardest sport in the world to play. To hit a round ball with a round bat, to
Yeah.
connect it square at 90 miles an hour, whatever it is, plus 100 miles an hour. It takes more than just physical tools. In basketball, if you're 7'3", you're 7'3". Nobody's
Yeah,
stopping Shaq no matter what. But in baseball, you got to be able to hit that slider. You got to be able to recognize it. You got to be able
definitely,
to lay off
definitely.
there.
That's why heading into the future, we can only hope for the best regarding Dominguez. And if he does pan out as the superstar Mike Trout comparison that the Yankees think he will be, that kind of brings us back to Judge and how he can be expendable at that point. Um, if Judge doesn't really if he doesn't put up another superstar season before he becomes a free agent, it's possible that the Yankees won't offer him that mega deal that he will be looking for because regardless of he doesn't put up those superstar numbers before his free agency, he's still going to be demanding a mega contract just because of his name and presence alone. So if
Right.
Dominguez is a superstar by then, uh, you don't really know what could happen.
Sort of a Bryce Harper, Juan Soto type of deal is what you're saying. How
Yeah,
Harper left town and Soto takes him to the World Series. You hope not. I really want to see Judge finish his career with the Yankees. I think as long as he can get to a point where he learns how to be healthy. Eric Cressy is their new, I guess, the new training lead this year, and he's bringing in some new machines to the weight room, some new types of stretches. So far for Judge, I mean, I think it's too early to say that it hasn't worked. I mean, he had one little neck injury. The other thing was from last year. So, I'm prepared to give him some time. He's got enough credit in the bank from when he does play that, I'm going to give him some time. But, if he misses, ends up missing all of 2020 or half of 2020, half of 2021, then yeah, at some point, just like, okay, this guy's great, but, he's either a DH or what, so
yeah,
I hope it
yeah.
doesn't happen, but I could see it happening.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of sad because like this was just my own mind playing tricks on me at this point. But when the Yankees announced the 60-man player pool,
Right.
like I don't know why, but I had this little ounce of hope in myself that I would see Dominguez's name on there. It's
It's
like,
not totally out of line. I mean, it's
no,
something
that's
like that.
why.
In '95, the Yankees put on the postseason roster, Jorge Posada, and he
Yeah,
was just, believe it or not, Jorge Posada, who was a terrible, terrible base runner, was on the roster to be a pinch runner. Um, but and he ended up being a lot slower in his later days than he was back
yeah,
then anyway. But I could have seen something like that. Like if this kid is really all that, and I think maybe if he had gotten, let's say the season was postponed or delayed in May, and he was in Single A hitting 370 with 9 bombs in 15 games. It's like, oh, well, maybe we will put him on, But
yeah,
I think he has to play some professional baseball before they would make a move like that. And at some point, there's a thing that's almost, you don't want to say more important than winning, but you've got to take care of this kid's mental health too. 17 years old, new country, middle of a pandemic, totally unique season, all these social distancing rules. I think it was a good call and it was a smart call just for his long-term development to say, stay home, work on the things that we're having you work on, get better, come to camp next year ready to go.
yeah.
He's got his money. He's got a nice facility now where he can hit. He can go play in Tampa whenever he wants. And I think we'll see, Jasson Dominguez sooner rather than later.
Solid question right now. Do you think that Jasson Dominguez will get a spring training invite next season?
That's a good question. I think he will. I think he
Yeah,
will get it because he'll be 18 years old at that point. And realistically, he could be a year away from the major because guys play in the major leagues at 19. We saw it with Soto. We saw it with Bryce Harper. If he's really that kind of athlete, I think you want to see what he's got in camp. And he might be one of those guys they bring to camp, just have him on the roster, maybe give him 2 at-bats, send
yeah.
him down to minor league camp. But I think they want him around the team, and I think that he'll get an invite.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, if you're inviting him to camp, it really goes beyond the point of having him playing camp to break the team. It's more of having him around the guys, having him, like you said, a locker next to Judge, how that would be able to impact his mental game heading into his early minor league career.
Right.
Um, Now we don't know once he does enter the minor leagues because we haven't really seen him play in minor league baseball. So once he does reach that level, it's going to be interesting because he's never kind of faced that kind of competition before. So let's say he does go there and hit 350, like you mentioned. We could see him in the league with this team now. So getting him connected with Gary and Judge and Glaber is crucial, because especially Glaber was in the same position as Dominguez, young phenom,
Right.
top of all the prospect rankings, and Glaber handled it mentally better than anyone I could have ever expected. He's still the most humble. He took it into his own hands, never want to use a translator. He learned English on his own. He wants to answer all his questions on his own. So I think the guys on the roster currently would be a great influence for Dominguez heading into the future.
So one of the things that I wanted to mention while we're on this topic, I don't know if you read the book Inside the Empire. I think it's by Bob Klappich, came out last year.
Yeah.
They talk a lot about the Dominican universities, where they actually have universities for these guys they sign, where they don't just teach them baseball stuff, but they teach them, how to buy a car. How does credit work? How do you pay your taxes? What are some of the popular scams that people will try and run on you in a country like this? Stay out of cars with drunk people. Like they how do you treat women respectfully? Those are the type of things that the Yankees go out of their way to invest in, that not every organization can, or frankly will, put the investment into. And I think that's why the Yankees turn out so many great young men that are more than just baseball players, but are good guys off the field, very marketable. New York is a place where you've got to be visible on and off the field. You've got to be in commercials. You've got to do this and that, and endorse this, and do this radio show. And it gets tough to do. And so you need guys who have patience, who have the right temperament. Guys like Albert Bell. I don't know if you remember him, but he would never have lasted. There was a time where the Yankees were considering bringing him in, and I was like, he'll never last in New York. He'll flip out at the reporters. Randy Johnson gets off the plane and shoves a reporter. But then guys like Garrett Cole, who have learned to deal with the media. They went to college. They learned how to live appropriately. They work well with the media. They realize it's their job, and so they've got their head on right. So it's a matter of influence. My baseball coach used to say, if you hang around with shit, sooner or later the smell begins to rub off. So just put him next to the right guys, and I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Also, there's no other organization that would be able to comb through Jasson Dominguez as good as the Yankees. They have one of the best player development teams in all of baseball. So, like I said before, we can only hope for the best heading into the future, because honestly, in baseball, you never know what the future holds. But regardless, I want to say we kind of touched on every topic that we wanted to today. We hit everything. We hit the Yankees 60-game season. We talked about Dominguez for a minute. Thank you again for joining me, Derek. You guys could check him out on Twitter at MYY Recaps. Definitely check out his YouTube. This man produces Netflix quality videos. Like, the quality is top notch. Go subscribe. Go check out all of his ranking videos, podcasts. Do it all.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure joining you, and see everybody next time.
Have a good night, everyone.